Shocking footage reveals Alex Eala's reaction during the raid. You won't believe this. Caught completely off guard in her hotel room, she was alone, vulnerable, and unaware of what was coming. A quiet night that should have been filled with focus and preparation turned into chaos in seconds. Officials barged in without warning, cameras rolling, recording every move, every expression. Her heart raced, hands trembling, mind spinning with questions she had no answers to. A mysterious device found in her bag made everything worse. Fear gripped her like a vice. Outside, whispers spread faster than truth, and social media erupted before she even had a chance to react. The footage would become a viral storm, dividing fans, critics, and the entire tennis world. In that moment, Alex realized this was no ordinary inspection. It was a test of courage, survival, and truth. Every second captured in that clip would mark the beginning of a scandal no one saw coming. The city of Guangzhou glittered beneath the night sky, lights reflecting in the quiet river as Alex Eala sat on the balcony of her hotel room, headphones in, world paused around her. For a moment, it felt like time itself had slowed. She breathed in the humid air, letting it fill her lungs, trying to shake off the nerves that had been building for weeks. This tournament was supposed to be different. A chance to prove herself after months of injuries, setbacks, and whispers that questioned her talent. Alex had always carried expectations like a second skin. From the moment she first held a racket, fans, coaches, and the Philippine media had traced her every serve, every sprint, every victory. At 20, she had already seen more eyes on her than most players see in a lifetime. And yet, this time, she wanted something more than fame or trophies. She wanted control. She wanted to reclaim her story. Her hotel room, quiet and sterile, should have been a sanctuary. Instead, she felt the weight of anticipation pressing in. Her team had been on edge too. Her coach, normally unflappable, had been pacing the floor earlier, speaking in clipped, measured tones. "Just focus on tomorrow," he said. But Alex could hear the tension in his voice, the same tension she felt coiling tight in her chest. Small disagreements over training schedules, minor lapses in communication, and the constant pressure of social media chatter had made the last few days feel like walking a tightrope over a pit of expectations. Tonight was meant to be a night of preparation, reflection, and calm. Instead, Alex felt the subtle hum of unease lurking at the edges of her mind. Something didn't feel right. She couldn't put her finger on it. Maybe it was just pre-tournament jitters. Maybe it was the shadow of her own ambition whispering that she had more to prove than she had ever realized. She scrolled through messages from her team, her family, her fans. Each one carried a subtle weight. "Good luck. We believe in you. Be careful." They were words of support. But to Alex, they felt like the sound of a crowd watching her walk a path she didn't fully understand. The camera flashes, the headlines, the expectations. All of it had a way of creeping into the quiet moments, poisoning them with doubt. Her mind wandered to the court, imagining the first serve of the tournament. She pictured the opponents, the lines, the sound of the ball slicing through the humid air. In her head it was perfect, clean, precise, under her control. But even as she visualized it, a subtle tension crept in, a premonition she could not shake. This calm, she realized, was fragile. Something unseen was moving closer, something that would shatter the fragile bubble she had built around herself. As she lay back on the bed, closing her eyes, she whispered to herself, "I just want to play. I just want to prove I belong." It was a simple wish, almost naive in its honesty. Yet, in that fleeting moment of stillness, the storm was already forming. Somewhere, in the quiet corridors of the hotel, unseen forces were already shifting pieces on a board she didn't even know she was part of. By midnight, the city slept. Alex, headphones still in, clutched her racket case beside her. Tomorrow, she thought, would be about focus and preparation. She had no idea that by dawn, the hotel walls would be crawling with officials, cameras, and a scandal that would ignite the tennis world, a storm that would test every ounce of her courage and resolve. The calm before the storm was over. And Alex Eala's life, her career, and her very identity were about to be thrown into chaos. Not a soft, polite knock. Not the gentle reminder of hotel staff or a late-night call from her coach. This was sharp, deliberate, almost mechanical. A sound that shattered the fragile calm Alex had clung to. She stirred in bed, heart immediately hammering against her ribs, half awake, half alert, a knot of instinct and fear rising in her chest. Her physiotherapist, Marco, was the first to hear it properly. "Who?" he mumbled, opening the door just a crack. Outside stood 3 figures, 2 tournament officials, 1 security officer. Their badges glinted in the dim hallway light, their expressions unreadable. One held a small camera, recording every movement, every detail. "Integrity inspection," the tallest official said, voice flat, rehearsed, as if memorized for 100 previous intrusions. "Please cooperate." Before Marco could respond, they stepped inside. The door shut behind them with a sharp click that sounded louder than any gunshot in the still night. Alex swung her legs off the bed, confusion and panic racing through her veins. What's happening?" Her voice cracked, tiny, almost swallowed by the tension in the room. No answer. Only the sound of drawers being opened, zippers being undone, the metallic scrape of bags being rifled through. Her belongings, personal, professional, private, were treated like evidence in a courtroom she didn't know she was in. Then came the discovery. A small black device, wrapped in a towel, hidden deep in her racket bag. Alex froze, disbelief freezing her in place. She had never seen it before. She didn't know how it got there. And yet, everyone in the room treated it as a confession. The lead official turned to her, camera still rolling. "Miss Eala," he said, each word slow, deliberate. "Do you know what this is?" I don't," she stammered. Her fingers shook as they hovered over her own racket, as if she could grab some sense of control from it. Panic radiated off her in waves. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong, that this raid was not routine, that someone had planned this to humiliate her, to trap her. Minutes felt like hours. Outside the door, the city slept, oblivious to the chaos unfolding inside room 618. Yet, with every passing second, her life was leaking out, through the camera, through the official's notes, through the silence that weighed heavier than any accusation. Her phone buzzed incessantly, messages piling up, each one adding to the panic. Her team, her coach, fans, all reaching out. "Stay calm. It's just procedure. Don't say anything." Words meant to comfort felt hollow. Comfort was gone. All that remained was fear, confusion, and a gnawing sense that her world was being rewritten without her permission. She watched the officials document everything, her training plans, her personal notes, even the tiny mementos tucked in drawers. Each object was examined, recorded, judged. The device, the cameras, the official clipboards, it was a theater of suspicion. And Alex, the protagonist of her own life, had no lines to speak, no script to follow. By the time the raid ended, the officials left as abruptly as they had arrived. Her room was in disarray, her privacy stripped bare, and the silence that followed felt heavier than the chaos itself. Outside, whispers had already begun to spread, rumors forming faster than truth. In a matter of minutes, her name, Alex Eala, was no longer just a tennis player. It was a headline, a question, a controversy waiting to explode. And Alex? She sat on the edge of her bed, hands trembling, heart racing, staring at the black device that had transformed a routine night into a storm she couldn't escape. Her comeback, her reputation, her very identity. All were now in the hands of a world she could no longer control. The storm had begun, and there was no turning back. By sunrise, Guangzhou had woken to a world that no longer revolved around tennis scores or match schedules. Instead, every phone screen, every computer tab, every social media feed was dominated by a single name, Alex Eala. The footage had leaked. Just 30 seconds, barely enough time to catch a glimpse of her trembling hands, her wide eyes, the disbelief etched across her face. Yet it was enough. Enough for fans to gasp. Enough for critics to speculate. Enough for the tennis world to erupt. The clip traveled faster than any match highlight. Within minutes, hashtags trended worldwide. Eala raid, Chakra scandal in China, Chata WTA controversy. Screenshots circulated, opinions formed, judgments passed. Every frame was dissected, every blink analyzed, every whisper in the footage turned into a story. Supporters flooded Twitter and Instagram, defending her fiercely. "She's innocent," one viral tweet read. "No athlete deserves this violation of privacy." Meanwhile, detractors pounced, questioning her integrity, suggesting that the device might indicate something more sinister, that she had known more than she admitted. Rumors spread like wildfire, mixing fact and fiction into a combustible narrative. Even her own team struggled to contain the fallout. Her coach, normally stoic, scrolled through comments in disbelief. This is beyond tennis," he muttered. Her physiotherapist, Marco, shook his head. "They've turned her into a spectacle before she even has a chance to respond." Alex herself hadn't left her room. She sat on the bed, wrapped in a blanket, laptop open but untouched. Each notification felt like a hammer blow. Each alert a reminder that the world was now watching her every reaction, judging her every move. She tried to focus, tried to breathe, but the chaos had already seeped inside, spreading faster than she could control. Then came the interviews, the pundits, the experts analyzing her every facial expression. Clips were looped endlessly, slowed down, framed, cropped. "See her hesitation? See the way she touches the bag?" One commentator said on a live stream, voice dripping with certainty. Something isn't right, but Alex knew better. She knew fear when she felt it. She knew panic when it gripped her. And she knew that what people were seeing, the leak, the chaos, the smear, was only a fragment of the truth. The world was building a story without asking her for her side, and yet there was a strange, almost terrifying momentum to it all. The scandal grew not because of what had happened, but because of how quickly the world needed an explanation. Everyone demanded clarity, evidence, proof, yet no one seemed to consider that sometimes the truth is hidden, the narrative manipulated, the stakes higher than anyone could imagine. Alex realized something crucial. The public eye is a double-edged sword. It can lift you up, it can inspire, it can celebrate, but in a moment like this, it can also consume you, distort you, and make you a prisoner in your own story. She wasn't just a tennis player anymore. She was a symbol, a mystery, a question the world demanded to be answered. Hours passed. Messages kept coming. Supporters tried to calm her, friends whispered advice, journalists pressed for statements. But Alex stayed silent, letting the storm rage outside while she tried to think, plan, breathe. The leak had started a fire, and she knew, deep in her bones, that this was only the beginning. The moment she had feared, the moment when her private life collided with public obsession, had arrived. And the world was watching. The night in Guangzhou stretched endlessly, the city lights reflecting off the hotel windows like distant stars watching her unravel. Alex Eala could feel the weight of every eye on her, the world judging every heartbeat, every breath. After the raid and the viral leak, she had retreated into silence, but silence could only protect her for so long. The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm inside her mind. It was then that her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number blinked on the screen. "We know what they're looking for. Check the locker." Before it's too late. Her first instinct was disbelief. Could it be a trap? Or a lifeline? Without a second thought, adrenaline pumping, she grabbed her keys and slipped out of her room, her footsteps echoing down the empty hallways. The locker room, the same place where the raid had occurred, felt different now. Shadows seemed deeper, corners darker. Every noise made her jump, every echo a potential threat. She crouched behind a row of lockers, scanning the room. And then she saw it, a small, unassuming USB drive, wedged behind a locker door, almost invisible. Her hands shook as she picked it up, feeling its weight as if it carried not just data, but the answers to everything. It was heavy with potential, a key that could either exonerate her or pull her deeper into scandal. Alex knew she wasn't alone. A shadow moved near the entrance. Someone who shouldn't have been there. Her pulse raced, every instinct screaming that danger was close. She clutched the USB like a lifeline, crouching behind the locker as the figure stepped closer, voice low, threatening. "I know you found it. Hand it over and no one gets hurt." Alex's mind raced. Every drill, every sprint, every high-speed reaction she had learned on the court surged through her body. She weighed her options: fight, run, hide, or negotiate. And then she made her choice. She would not let fear dictate her actions. She would uncover the truth no matter the cost. Slipping into the shadows, she ducked past the figure, heart pounding, and raced back to her hotel room. Inside, she connected the USB to her laptop, the hum of the device a sinister heartbeat in the silent room. Files, videos, encrypted folders, secrets buried within them that could explain the raid, the leak, the shadowy forces targeting her. Names, conversations, plans, manipulations, all pointing to a carefully orchestrated setup. Someone had wanted her out of the spotlight, and this device was proof. Hours passed like minutes as she sifted through the evidence. Each revelation tightened the knot in her chest. Betrayal, manipulation, and deception lurked behind every file. Friends, colleagues, even those she trusted seemed to vanish into suspicion. Yet, amidst the chaos, a clarity emerged. She had been chosen, targeted, tested. And now, armed with the truth, she had the power to fight back. As dawn approached, Alex sat by the window, USB in hand, the city waking below her. She realized that this was bigger than tennis. Bigger than fame. Bigger than herself. And in that moment, she made a vow. She would not be a victim. She would uncover the hidden forces, expose the truth, and reclaim her story, no matter the cost. The storm was far from over. But Alex Eala, trembling yet resolute, had found her weapon. And in her hands, it carried the promise of justice. The morning sunlight seeped through the blinds of Alex Eala's hotel room, casting long, pale stripes across the floor. After a sleepless night filled with panic, fear, and discovery, she now sat calm, resolute, staring at the USB drive that had become the linchpin of her fate. Each file, each video, each email she had uncovered was a piece of the puzzle. Proof of manipulation, sabotage, and deliberate targeting by forces she had never imagined. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages, calls, and notifications. The leaked raid footage had already gone viral, sparking debates, conspiracy theories, and speculation across the tennis world. Fans and critics alike demanded answers, but Alex now had something far more powerful than public opinion: evidence. Evidence that could turn the tide, that could silence doubts, and that could expose the hidden hands orchestrating the chaos. Her coach entered cautiously, sensing both tension and determination in her demeanor. "Alex, if we release this, there's no going back. This will shake the organization, the tournament, even the media. Are you ready?" She looked up, eyes steady, jaw firm. "I have to. I can't let them control my story. Not anymore. This ends on my terms." Carefully, selectively, she began sending files to trusted journalists. Not everything, just enough to reveal the conspiracy, to show the manipulation without putting herself in immediate danger. Each click felt like a heartbeat, each email like a calculated strike in a game where the stakes were nothing less than her career and reputation. As the evidence spread, the tennis world erupted once again. Major sports outlets reported the revelations. Officials within the organization had been coordinating to undermine certain players' comebacks, including Alex. Emails and video clips demonstrated deliberate planting of devices, staged raids, and attempts to manipulate public perception. Fans rallied behind her with renewed fervor, hashtags like "Justice for Alex" and "Truth Prevails" trending worldwide. Yet, amidst the triumph, Alex remained wary. She knew victory was never final in the world of scandal. Her eyes scanned every news report, every social media post, every reaction, wary of anyone who might try to spin her story. But as hours turned into a day, the truth became undeniable. She had turned a moment of vulnerability into a platform for justice. She had reclaimed her narrative. When she finally walked onto the practice court that afternoon, the energy was different. Every serve, every swing, every movement was imbued not just with skill, but with resilience. Cameras were everywhere, reporters watched, fans speculated, and she didn't flinch. She had survived the storm, uncovered the truth, and exposed those who tried to manipulate her. Her statement was simple, yet powerful. I may be a tennis player, but today I am also a voice for truth. The court is my arena, but integrity is my victory. Messages of support flooded in. Fellow athletes, fans, and even former skeptics acknowledged her courage. The world saw Alex Eala not just as a rising star, but as someone who had faced betrayal, scandal, and fear, and emerged unbroken. By sunset, the city of Guangzhou had quieted once more, but the echoes of the storm lingered. The orchestrators of the raid had been exposed, their plans unraveled. Yet Alex understood that the scars, the tension, the doubt, the emotional battle, would remain with her. But in those scars lay a deeper strength, a resilience forged in fire. A reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Alex Eala had faced the chaos, confronted the deception, and emerged victorious. The world had watched, and now they understood. She was no ordinary player. She was unstoppable. The sun was setting over Guangzhou, casting a golden glow over the river and the city skyline. For Alex Eala, the world felt both lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because the storm that had threatened to consume her career and her reputation had been confronted and, in many ways, defeated. Heavier because she knew that the experience had changed her forever. Nothing would ever feel the same again. Sitting quietly in her hotel room, Alex reflected on the past days. The raid, the viral leak, the suffocating scrutiny, and the discovery of the USB drive that had become both her lifeline and her weapon. She remembered the fear, the adrenaline, the uncertainty. She remembered the shadowy figure in the locker room, the sense of being hunted, exposed, and powerless. And yet, she also remembered the moments of clarity, the moments when she realized that she was stronger than anyone had assumed. Every challenge she had faced in tennis, every lost match, every injury, every doubt from herself or others had prepared her for this. She understood now that courage was not only about performing on the court, but about standing tall when the world wanted to break you. She had been tested in ways no tournament could replicate, in ways no opponent could challenge her. And she had survived. Outside, the world continued to watch. Social media was still buzzing, sports outlets still reporting, and fans still discussing the events. But Alex had learned something crucial. The court was only one arena, and life's battles often played out in spaces invisible to the crowd. Strength was not measured in trophies alone, but in resilience, integrity, and the ability to reclaim one's story amidst chaos. Her phone buzzed with messages from supporters, fellow athletes, and even former skeptics offering congratulations. Comments poured in. You showed the world what courage looks like. Your comeback is more than tennis. It's inspiration. You faced the storm and didn't flinch. For Alex, these words were not just validation, but a reminder that while the world can be cruel and judgmental, it can also be moved, inspired, and changed by truth. Packing her racket for the next day's practice, Alex paused for a moment, taking in the quiet of the room and the distant hum of the city below. The events of the last week would linger, the raid, the public scrutiny, the exposure, but they would no longer define her. She was no longer a passive player in her own story. She was the author, the strategist, and the survivor. And as she walked to the practice court the next morning, every step felt purposeful. Every serve, every swing, every movement carried not just skill, but a quiet declaration. Alex Eala had faced chaos, confrontation, and deception, and she had emerged stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Her journey was a testament to the fact that real victory is not measured in points or trophies, but in resilience, courage, and the willingness to stand up for yourself when the world tries to write your story for you. For fans, fellow athletes, and anyone watching, Alex's story became more than tennis. It was a story of survival, empowerment, and strength under pressure. And in that, she left a legacy far beyond the court. If you want more gripping stories of courage, scandal, and triumph in women's tennis, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. The world of tennis is never quiet, and the next story is always just around the corner.